That it's Scott Andrews, but I'll forgive you for that. Hey, give it up for Tiffany. She's been working hard to make this rally happen. How many of you were at the first rally we threw in San Luis Obispo? Make some noise. I think we had about 60 or 70 of you, and I think we're growing. What do you guys think? We had about 700. I think Amanda over here organized the rally in Paso Robles. Give it up for Amanda Hawkins and Valerie, her good friend who helped out. And I've had, of course, Allie, who's going to be speaking last. She's been helping me. Allie, give it up for Allie Bowen, ladies and gentlemen. We are creating a movement, are we not? All right, I've got a question for you guys. How are you enjoying your free trial of socialism? I know it's a funny joke, except it isn't free. By the time it is done, we will each be more than $80,000 in debt through our federal government, which just seems to be printing money just as much as they can. Our dollar will be deflated in value because that money was not backed by any gold standard. There is no money tree. But more than money, lives are being lost, as we've been talking about. Thousands of businesses will be lost. Hundreds here in San Luis Obispo County. Many closed forever. I drove through the street in Arroyo Grande and I saw over 20% of the businesses had already had for sale, for lease signs in their windows in the town I grew up in. And this was several weeks ago, guys. And I said, not in my town, not in my watch. And for the first time in my life, decided to become an activist for our freedom, for our right to conduct business, for our right to live without all these constrictions. It's ridiculous. Okay, so maybe over 100,000 will die through COVID. I don't believe that number, but I believe some have. Okay, I'm not going to say there's no disease, but was this disease created in a lab? Was it intentionally released? Some say yes, some say no. I don't know. I wasn't there, I can't tell you. But I have my suspicions. I will tell you something. I was doing some research last night into the bill that was drafted. You know the bill they passed, the first one called the CARES Act? What's the new one? HERO. They always give it names that are like the opposite of what it is. You ever notice that? The Patriot Act. Took away our freedoms. Patriot my butt. So this, what was it? The name of it, 478. Did anyone else look it up yet? So I was looking it up. Did you know when the bill was first drafted was in January of 2019? I'm like, what? So first I started freaking out because I'm like, that's a smoking gun right there. So I started digging in and, I read, well, okay, they can repurpose bills if you know about how the legislative process works. But they changed the name of the bill on January 3rd, 2020. Who knew anything about coronavirus on January 3rd, 2020? Did any of our Democrats know that? Did any of our government know? Did any of you know that? I didn't. In fact, they didn't start talking about it until the end of January. It was only like, okay, there's some sort of pneumonia we haven't seen before, was talked about from the WHO, the World Health Organization, on January, is around the 10th to 12th, somewhere in there. So how would they know to change the name of that bill to the CARES Act, which starts, the first letter of that acronym is Corona, right? Food for thought. All right, just saying, but that really bothered me when I saw that. Something's up. Something's up and it isn't good. Anyways, we're going to see a lot more people die from things like thousands of lives will be lost to heart attacks, cancer, untreated diabetes. One of the doctors in our county said he has cut off more feet from untreated diabetes than he has in any 2-week period in his entire career. You know where that leads to, right? It often leads to death. Suicide. Called up one of my friends about 2 weeks ago, said, how you doing? She goes, not good, I'm having suicidal thoughts. I said, don't do it. She goes, but I know all the evil that's being done in the world. I said, I know, but if you're the light, we're the light. If we quit, who's going to tell everybody else to come out of the dark? Guys, it's up to us. We can't check out. I know it's hard. You can't check out. You got to stay strong. I had dark thoughts one night. I opened my Bible the next morning and I just started reading. I'll tell you, there is some salvation in those words. If there's ever a time to turn to the love of Jesus Christ, it is now. If you're not in favor of that, I encourage you to open the book. You can argue with me all you want later. All right, so anyway, there's going to be more people dying of suicide, drug overdose, alcoholism, and more nasty things that are real and happening right here in San Luis Obispo County. Many people who have criticized our movement and said such despicable things to me after our last rally, I kid you not, I hope you all die of COVID. Someone said that to me. A county worker, I won't say who she was, I don't even know her name, I don't want to. Perhaps we care more than they do about our health. You know, how many of you care about our health? Make some noise. Whoa, wait a minute. I've been told that we don't care anything about their health. How could this be? Maybe we know more than they do. Just saying. I'll tell you, because the fact is that for every 1% of unemployment, 40,000 Americans will die of those things I just told you about. Do the math. We're expecting our current 14% unemployment to rise to over 20, up to like 30% before this is done. There was 3%. We had a strong economy when this started, right? Okay, so 27%, do the math, times 40,000 is over 1 million people. That's a lot more than any coronavirus projection. So if you think I don't care about health, think again. I do think I care about your health. Because that's over 1 million people that will die if that projection comes true. And I tend to believe the unemployment projections more than Dr. Fauci. How about you? Well, Dr. Fauci said we would lose 2 million deaths in America to this disease. The truth is, it's been a far cry from that. Models by Bill Gates. Thank you, Kill Bill. You're so kind to care about our people and our economy. Do you know when somebody said to him, it looks like the economy downturn is just going to go on for a long time, Bill Gates goes, he laughed. He thought it was cool. Something's wrong with that guy. So the 80,000 deaths reported on CNN on the right-hand panel, nonstop, in bright red, right? Night and day, 24/7. Even if 200,000 more lives were lost from reopening early, as I saw one study say, it's still going to be a far cry from the 1 million. Even if that 1 million is overstated by 2x, it's still going to be 300,000 lives short. So don't talk to me about lives, and we don't care about lives. Lives are going to be, and as it turns out, the lives are not getting lost by reopening. They're seeing the numbers are still going down. Imagine that. Because the fact is, sheltering is bad for us. I think we already said that, right? Well, in San Luis Obispo, we've had 1 death of a man over 80 with cancer. My father was a Korean War veteran, and he would be proud of us standing here defending our freedom today. He died 3 days before Christmas this past year, 2019. He died of a form of cancer. It's blood cancer called myeloma. It slowly eats away at your bones, and then eventually attacks all of your organs at once. I saw my dad go through the pain of that. Had he gotten that 4 months later, they would have called his death COVID because he had pneumonia. It's messed up. Then there's other stories about going unreported in our news. For example, one woman I know had her husband cheat on her. She's likely headed for divorce on top of everything else. Many families are going to go through divorce, and as unemployment rises, the stress of providing for the family is going to drive people apart. Divorce is stressful. Another friend just closed their business. We're seeing more of those every day, aren't we? I spoke with a UPS driver 3 weeks ago. He said his normal route was about 90 businesses. Right now it's down to about 40, 45. Of course, this was 3 weeks ago. He told me if this goes on another month, or worse, they're all toast. Well, it's gone 3 weeks since that conversation. How many more of those businesses and lives associated with them are now toast and could have been saved, Mr. Honorable Governor Newsom? For some, the stress is becoming too much to bear. For children, sometimes the situation is far worse. The foster care system is a scary place for children. Even if your family is chaotic, neglectful, or even abusive, being taken away from everything you've ever known can be terrifying. Imagine having to go live with strangers, often a series of different homes, and there is nothing that you can do. Foster children have no control over their lives, and that lack of control causes continual insecurity. They don't know how long they'll be in a particular home, or where they're going to go to school the next month, or even the next year. Foster teens aren't allowed to do many things other teens do, such as getting a driver's license or going to their friend's house for a sleepover. I did that when I was a kid, didn't you guys? Yeah. A lot of foster kids don't get to do that. And in fact, there's a study that found foster children are more likely to suffer PTSD than combat veterans. And I think we know what kind of stress our combat veterans. How many military combat veterans do we have here? We love our veterans, thank you. Any foster children here? All right, I don't know about that. So I bring this all up though, because this past week, a man working for a neighbor of one of our speakers reported that he has become a foster care parent to 2 children, ages 2 and 12. The reason these 2 children entered into his foster care is they had walked in on their mother who had hung herself. I'm sorry. The stress of dealing with the coronavirus had simply become too much for her to bear. If that doesn't bring it home for you, I don't know what else will. It sure did for me. I cried for half an hour when I heard about that. I couldn't stop crying because there's so many lives across our country being affected like that. Okay, this must end. It must end now. So when I tell you hundreds of thousands of lives are being impacted, it's in ways like this. For others like me, your life may be uprooted. I'm moving this month. The EDD payments didn't come in time. I didn't want to be a burden on my mom, gave notice. That's how I handle things. I'll stand up, I can handle it. But you know, I'm uprooted. I didn't want to move, not yet. How many of you other guys are having to move? Anyone else have to move? You know, all right, well, people are having to move. In my complex where I live, there's constantly boxes in the recycling bin of everybody moving in and moving out. So I got all the boxes I need to be able to move, so that's the good news. Suicides, homes uprooted, dreams dashed, all because our governor continues to ignore our county's request to allow us to reopen. 16% of our small businesses lost the past month, all because our governor is being a jerk, because our county is more Republican than Democrat, well, the Board of Supervisors are, all since we started rallying back on April 20th. So that's when we started, right? It's been almost a month. They could have opened that week. Oh, man. Demand it stop. Demand it stop now. These people are playing politics with our lives. We are all for people's health, but we are also against tyranny. We talked about that earlier, right? We have rights that are being trampled. I had one friend say, well, rights are being violated. I'm like, you don't know? Seriously, they don't even know why we're rallying, guys. I'm like, wait, just 3 years ago, weren't you wearing a bunch of pink hats and marching around for all these rights? Okay, those were important. The ruling of the United States Supreme Court shortly after the Civil War in 1866 said, neither the legislature nor any executive or judicial officer may disregard the provisions of the Constitution in case of emergency. Section 98, therefore, anyone who declares the suspension of constitutionally guaranteed rights, in parentheses, to freely travel, peacefully assemble like we are doing today, earn a living, worship, utilize their property, etc., and or attempts to enforce such a suspension within the United States of America is making war against our Constitution and therefore we the people. We are at war, my friends. They violate their constitutional oath and thus immediately forfeit their office and authority, and their proclamations may be disregarded with impunity, and that means anyone, even the governor and the president. I had to look up the word impunity. It means you can ignore it, okay? You are free. How many of you look like, are any of you free people right here? Yeah. You look like free people to me. That means you are exempt from punishment, even if they try to bring it down. All these things. We're going to suspend your license if you reopen. That is crazy. We should not stand for it. We need to rally around any business this happens to. That's right. Okay? So there's part of our game plan. We must suggest our churches reopen. Churches must be reopened. We have a right to religious freedom. At church, we receive prayer. We pray. We worship our God. This is more vital now than ever. Even if your church has to expand services, right? I'm saying, guys, we can do 3 services instead of 1. We can do 5 services instead of 2. I don't care. If we got to sit 6 feet apart, fine. We'll do that. If I got to do remote live stream communion, fine. But let me worship in my church, all right? I can deal with some things, although I'll probably still do communion. Anyways, Call or write your churches, insist upon it. The suggestion of our government to do contact tracing. You've heard about that, right? How do you feel about that? I personally hate the idea because it's a complete violation of the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment protects people from unlawful searches and seizures. This means that the police can't search you or your house without a warrant or probable cause. Stand up to the brown shirt army and stop this contact tracing. Well, maybe you could do like one of my friends did. She goes, I applied for them. I said, you did? I said, no, you know what? She goes, well, why wouldn't I? I could help maybe influence it a little bit. I went, hey, that's not a bad idea. That's like throwing your shoes into the machines, isn't it? You know what that word comes from, right? Sabotage. Anyways, I think you get my point. These people are violating our Constitution to advance a global socialist agenda that is not in the United States' best interest. Their agenda endgame, a computer chip the size of a piece of rice in your hand that includes a vaccine filled with an aborted fetus, monkey DNA, formaldehyde, and other nasty things that will actually change your DNA. It'll turn you into a flumen. Combine that with digital currency, this chip along with 5G facial recognition and tracing, like they have in China. You can go look up the videos. I'm not making this up. I'm not a tinfoil hat dude. Sounds like I am, but I'm not. This is all truth. The social scoring system being rolled out in China right now penalizes citizens for frivolous shopping, smoking in the wrong areas, jaywalking, you name it. Your rights are being tested under coronavirus, because that's the future they want to bring to us, ladies and gentlemen. We have a Fifth Amendment called the right to due process. When did we get to vote for this? I didn't vote to shut down my business. We no longer demand the step-by-step process to reopen our businesses as we did 3 weeks ago in our rally. Today we insist the shelter at home in California get lifted right now because it's unconstitutional. If it's unconstitutional in Wisconsin, it's unconstitutional here. Pray to God the federal judge sees that, because there's good news. The Dillon Law Group, which is trying 12 cases against our very honorable Governor Newsom, one of those cases is going to the federal judge this week, and it is regarding that issue. If he rules as Wisconsin did, the reopen orders and plans are all shelved, we can all get back to work and get back to live our life. That means going back to church, going back to work, and conducting business. So pray for that judge, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I know I've gone a little long, but I had a lot of stuff I wanted to say today. Hope that's all right with y'all. James Madison, a founding father, once said, if tyranny and oppression come to this land, it will come as a foreign enemy. Perhaps that foreign enemy is within our own government. Yeah. Another quote was by Bill Clinton, who said, the road to tyranny, we must never forget, begins with the destruction of the truth. You might know. Just saying. You know, I'm an independent, but I'm becoming more right by the day. All my liberal friends have been attacking me. I've had to block about 200 people off my Facebook, and it's all been my liberal friends, unfortunately. I keep telling them, it's not a party issue, guys. It's not about party, it's about people. American people. People all around the world, too. There's other countries also saying the same thing we're saying right now in their country. Never at any point in history have we seen the truth attacked and labeled as conspiracy by our government, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, as we have today. The truth is, the government has too much power. Soon our movement will shift. It will not be about reopen San Luis Obispo County. Instead, it will become end government tyranny. In that effort, the flag will be, where's the one I saw over here? Don't tread on me. Where was that? It's exactly, there it is. I love that flag. It's my favorite flag. That one and this American one right back here. Two great flags. We must reopen San Luis Obispo County, California, and America. We may not be the majority opinion yet, but people are waking up to our movement, are they not? Yeah. They're waking up to the fact that we are in a war for our freedom, are they not? Yeah. So keep writing our Attorney General and those officers of our law, of our land. If we can't get through to our governor or our local officials, go federal, guys. We've got to continue to write and fight for truth. We've got to continue to hold these rallies. I've been told by people that are on our side fighting for the cause, these rallies are very, very important. President Kennedy said the great revolution in the history of man is a revolution of those determined to be free. My fellow Americans, thank you for standing with me here today for freedom. God bless you all. God bless America.
I think there's a link.